Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So you've brought us quite the stack today. We're looking at everything from really high-speed AI coding to market power realities, even the psychology behind, like, your coffee order.
That's right. The mission, as always, is to cut through that noise on the feed, pull out the essential bits, the surprising stuff you really need to know.
Okay, let's jump straight in then. AI in development seems like the place to start. Speed versus, well, quality.
Exactly. And we begin with pure efficiency. This first post really lit up the dev community.
Yeah, this one's from @StayPete. Refactored 141 useEffect calls today after feeding my agent this. 141.
It's a staggering number. I mean, for anyone not deep in React, useEffect is, well, it's tricky. You get it wrong, you get performance nightmares, maybe infinite loops crashing the whole thing.
Right, they can be a real pain. So what did the AI do here exactly? How did it manage 141?
So the user fed the AI agent React's own official docs, the how-to guide for avoiding those common mistakes. And the AI basically acted like a super fast code plumber, found and fixed 141 of these potential issues, these workflow problems, in just one day.
Wow, that's hundreds of hours saved, potentially. Debugging time gone.
Precisely. Pure efficiency gain. Makes the whole code base run smoother.
Okay, that's the dream scenario for AI assistants. But
yeah,
where does all that speed maybe clash with, I don't know, creativity? That seems to be the tension in this next one.
Yeah, this post from @officiallogica is pretty bold. Everyone is going to be able to vibe code video games by the end of 2025.
Vibe code. Just sort of feel the game into existence.
That's the idea, yeah. Translating abstract concepts directly into working code. It's getting faster, definitely. But, the question becomes, if everyone can instantly make a game from a prompt.
Does it just become wallpaper? Like, is there any value left? I saw the replies brought up old Flash games.
And that's such a great point. Those early 2000s Flash games, they were often brilliant because of the constraints, right?
Yeah, tiny file sizes, awkward tools.
Exactly. Human limitations force people to be really ingenious. And there's actually data here that MIT study from 2023. It found AI-assisted games, which are great at pattern matching. They actually scored lower on novelty, on being truly new.
So speed isn't the same as originality. Not always.
Not always. Which kind of perfectly sets up this next post. It blends that speed focus with, well, platform addiction.
Okay, this is from @CharlesMaddock asking, is this genius or the downfall of YC? And they're talking about something called the Brain Rot IDE.
Right. The Brain Rot IDE, developed by a Y Combinator startup, Clab Labs.
Okay, what is it? An IDE is an integrated development environment the tool coders use.
Yeah, but this one gamifies the entire process. We're talking addictive social media mechanics baked into coding.
Wait, like what? How do you gamify coding like that?
Think Plinko. Think cashback rewards for writing code. It's wild.
Plinko. Like, the price is right for the engineers. So YC is backing something that makes coding feel like TikTok.
Well, it's explicitly targeting Gen Z developers using those dopamine loops we know from social platforms. The goal seems to be maximizing engagement time rather than necessarily, maximizing deep, robust code quality. And that's a big shift, especially when you hear like a quarter of recent YC startups are apparently running on almost entirely AI-generated code bases now.
So we're optimizing for speed and addiction. Makes you wonder about the foundation.
It does. It really does.
Okay, that theme of concentration power,
Yeah.
concentrating via speed and AI, it mirrors what's happening in the markets, right? Let's shift gears. Mega cap power and financial mind games.
Yeah, perfect transition. And we start with this post from @BoringBiz. It was basically calling out the huge concentration of U.S. economic power in just 7 companies, the Magnificent Seven.
The sentiment there was pretty strong. What are the actual numbers? How much do these 7 giants control now?
It's genuinely stunning. As of last month, October 2025, they hold 36.6% of the entire S&P 500 market cap.
36.6% from 7 companies. What was it before?
Just 12.3% back in 2015. So a massive, massive increase in concentration.
So basically the health of the entire U.S. stock market, or at least the S&P 500 index, hinges on Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, and Tesla.
Pretty much. It creates this huge systemic vulnerability. If one of those key sectors, especially AI right now, takes a hit.
It drags everything down. Highly concentrated risk.
Definitely.
Okay, speaking of Alphabet, Google. There's a post here about their specific advantage in this AI race from @StockSavvyShay. GOGL is the most profitable company on the planet, with $116 being net income. They're turning that cash into the largest TPU footprint ever, while others burn money to chase AI. Playing a different game, they say.
And that's the key insight. Google's core business, search and ads, is just printing money. That $116 billion net income, it's second only globally to Saudi Aramco, I think.
Right, so they're using that cash pile. How does that change things compared to, say, Microsoft or Meta in the AI space?
It means they can fund the build-out of their own custom AI hardware, their tensor processing units, TPUs mostly using internal cash flow.
So not relying heavily on external funding or debt for this massive infrastructure push.
Exactly. They don't have the same kind of burn rate pressure that some rivals face. Microsoft and Meta, for instance, they reported huge AI capital expenditures in 2025, something like $40 billion and $56 billion combined. A lot more relative pressure to show returns quickly. Google's playing the long game from a position of, well, immense financial strength.
Makes sense. Okay, let's switch to a more personal finance angle, but one that really highlights psychology versus math. This post from @Ram Capital LLC is just mocking someone, paying off a 2.625% mortgage in this economy.
Right, this is classic. It feels good to pay off debt, right? That emotional relief of being debt-free.
Sure, yeah.
But mathematically, in this 2025 economy, it's likely an inefficient move.
Okay, explain the inefficiency. Why is paying off super cheap debt a bad idea now?
Well, look at current rates. 30-year mortgages are averaging, 6.15%, so that 2.625% debt is incredibly cheap money. Plus, inflation is still eroding the real value of that debt over time.
Uh-huh. So the money used to pay off that cheap mortgage?
Could almost certainly be invested elsewhere for a higher return. Like even a conservative S&P 500 index fund might yield 7%, maybe 10% annually over the long term. You're giving up potential gains to pay off debt that's actually working for you in a way because it's so cheap.
Right. Emotion versus the spreadsheet. Got it. Okay, let's move from balance sheets to global infrastructure. Starlink. I've got some positive data here from @MichaelNicholsX. Significant improvements in Starlink network performance in 2025, with median peak hour network-wide speeds increasing by over 50%.
Yeah, this is big for global connectivity. The metrics are really impressive. Starlink's hit a massive 50% speed gain just since the start of the year. And the satellite count, it's over 10,000 now. 10,092, I think, was the last count.
10,000 satellites. Okay. What does that translate to for someone actually using it on the ground? The speed and maybe more importantly, the latency.
So they're seeing median download speeds, even during peak hours, getting over 200 megabits per second. And maybe even more crucially, the global latency is down around 26 milliseconds.
26 milliseconds.
Yeah.
That's getting really competitive, isn't it?
Absolutely. That kind of latency means Starlink isn't just for remote cabins anymore. It's becoming a real challenger to traditional fiber and cable internet in a lot more places. It's fundamentally changing the access map.
Okay, impressive progress. Now, for something maybe a bit alarming, a privacy issue I hadn't really thought about, @TomDoer posted about a tool that recovers text from pixelized screenshots.
Yeah, this one definitely raised some eyebrows. It's a critical reminder about how we handle sensitive information visually. Pixelation, it turns out.
It's not secure. I thought that was the standard way to block things out.
Apparently not reliable enough. The technique used for pixelation, usually something called a linear box filter, it averages the pixel values, but it actually leaks information. The underlying data isn't truly gone.
Leaks? How? How can you get text back from just a blocky mess?
So this open source tool, it's called Depix, uses something called De Bruijn sequences. Basically, it can mathematically analyze the average pixel values and reconstruct possibilities for the original characters. The post showed it successfully recovering the phrase, "hello from the other side," from a pixelated image.
Whoa. Okay, that's worrying. So if you need to actually redact something properly in an image.
Don't pixelate. Use solid black bars or properly remove the content underneath. That's the takeaway. Pixelation just isn't secure enough.
Good to know. Seriously. Okay, let's shift into our final segment, psychology and entrepreneurial perspective. First up, a slightly weird one about taste. @NT Fabiano posted, people with antisocial traits prefer bitter tastes like black coffee.
Ah, yes. This comes from a study back in 2016. It got a fair bit of attention. And while it sounds dramatic, we need the details.
Okay, what did the study actually find?
It looked at about 950 adults and found a, let's say, modest positive correlation. The value was around 0.15 to 0.25, which isn't huge between liking bitter tastes and certain traits.
What kind of traits are we talking about?
Things like psychopathy, narcissism, Machiavellianism,
Hmm.
and, interestingly, everyday sadism.
Everyday sadism. So enjoying black coffee means I might secretly enjoy, being a little mean. That seems like a leap.
Well, hold on. The researchers themselves and later reviews stress correlation is not causality. Big time.
Right, right.
And they also point out the need for more objective toast tests, not just self-reporting preferences. But the underlying idea is that maybe there's a shared mechanism, perhaps related to seeking intense sensations, that links enjoying bitterness and some of these darker personality aspects. It's suggestive, let's say.
Interesting. Okay, moving from personal taste to global perspective on success. This post from @JamesIvings really struck me. 10 kilometers makes me the wealthiest person ever to exist in my entire family history.
Yeah, this is such an important reality check, especially given some of the discussions you see online about making money, entrepreneurship, that sort of thing.
Because $10,000 a month, that's $120,000 a year. In some online circles, that might sound like, just getting by.
Exactly. But globally, that income puts you well inside the global top 1% of adults, based on pre-tax income data from the World Inequality Database.
Top 1% worldwide.
Yeah. It just highlights the massive difference in perspective, the privilege gap when we talk about making it online versus the economic reality for most people on the planet, and even across generations within a single family.
That's a really powerful point.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap with something lighter, but it kind of ties back to that idea of ingenuity and history we touched on with Flash games. Tech nostalgia. @Haluk asks, got my first ThinkPad. Why it has green button?
Yeah. This is pure hardware geek joy. Someone got the ThinkPad X1 Carbon 30th Anniversary Edition.
Okay, and the green button, that's the little rubber pointing stick in the middle of the keyboard, the track point.
Exactly. And it's famously, iconically red.
Right. So why green on this one?
It's a deliberate, rare throwback. Green was actually one of the original color options IBM offered for the track point way back in the 1990s. So putting a green one on the 30th anniversary model was this niche nostalgic nod that instantly made it a collector's item for ThinkPad fans and design history buffs.
Love that. Little piece of computing history.
Yep.
Okay, we've covered a ton today. AI's impact on coding speed and maybe quality. The sheer concentration of market power. Starlink connecting the globe. Privacy risks and pixelation. Even bitter coffee and perspective on wealth. That was quite the deep dive.
It really was. And, if you pull back, a lot of these threads connect to that tension between efficiency, especially AI-driven efficiency, and human ingenuity, or maybe human limitations. We saw AI refactoring code at lightning speed, but we also talked about how those old constrained Flash games forced creativity. Now it seems like so much is about optimizing, removing constraints.
Yeah, smoothing everything out.
Which brings us to the final thought for you, the listener. We're seeing AI automate coding tasks, maybe even impacting fields like finance. There was that anecdotal claim from @Linsoft New York suggesting some NVIDIA insiders think AI could automate most banking roles eventually.
Wow, most roles.
It's a provocative claim, yeah. Studies often suggest augmentation more than replacement, but still. The question is, where does that uniquely human spark, the kind that thrived under constraints like the early Flash developers had? Where does that remain truly indispensable in the next few years? What jobs, what creative acts rely so much on complex emotion, cultural nuance, or just plain human messiness that AI fundamentally can't replicate?
Something definitely worth thinking about. Thanks for diving in with us today on The Deep Dive.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.